I am currently getting ready and making my suitcase to go back home to Brussels. And I think I'm going to count this as like a mini little solo writing retreat because I don't have that many plans this time around. So, yes, today is Thursday, the 27th of February. I am working this morning and then I've got the afternoon off, and then my plane is at like 5:20 or something. So, that should mean a little bit of time at the airport as well to maybe do some writing. Okay, so I have just finished packing pretty much everything except for my travel outfit because I'm not wearing it yet. And my suitcase is pretty much filled, but we are packed. I have my coffee. Not bad. So I arrived in Brussels last night, and then this morning I had dentist appointment at 9 a.m. and that is now done. No fillings needed, no cavities. And I don't know what's going on, but it's sunny right now and that makes me really happy. I've just put a croissant in the oven. So yesterday when I was at the lounge and then on the plane, I worked a tiny bit on my laptop, which I have right here. And I mostly just did corrections on the art of summoning demons because I was like, I'm going to prep the file to give to my CPs and I want to give it to them today or tomorrow. So it has to happen imminently. So I decided to do one last round. There were a few issues that I apparently repeat a lot and did not realize I had that problem with. I have a big problem between worse and worst. And then I have another big problem between the tenses when it comes to verbs that go in ring, rang, rung. Like that was my main one. I did not realize I had that problem until I did that spell check. So now that is solved, that has been taken care of. And I think I had maybe like 3 left before I was finished with the file. So I'm going to finish this now. And what I also did was that I placed in there, I made those little designs of 2 of the symbols that are relevant to the book. So there's 2 moments where in the book there's a description of a specific symbol. And I ended up making them in Illustrator, so I thought I should put them in the file for this version of the latest manuscript to give to my critique partners so they have it visually to see. I thought that would be quite fun. I feel like I have a lot of American versions of words versus English versions of words, and it's not consistent, and that's something I need to keep consistent. Like, I don't actually care which one it is, and I found a video of an agent saying, like, it doesn't matter which one it is. They're not, like, an agent's not going to care about it, but you should keep it consistent that they're going to care about. And I think the problem is that I swap between spellings depending on the project I'm in. So when I was writing An Office for Monsters, it happens in England, it happens in London, and it was like, I'm going to use the English version of the words, so all the S's and the flavor with a U and all of these. And so now going back to revise The Art of Summoning Demons, which I initially wrote in a, like, it happens in the States, it happens in New England, I was like, oh, I need to use American English. This is so confusing and my brain is so confused. So I need to correct that, I think. So this morning I ended up doing some pro writing aid, and I all I'm checking is grammar and spelling, and that's it. And I have a lot of spelling errors, obviously, because I just moved it back to US English. I've been doing 13 chapters into no 12 chapters in total, so I'm at chapter 13 out of 30, and I did that for like an hour this morning after the dentist and before I got to leave for lunch. And then we went to have a nice lunch, and that was delicious and so filling. So felt a little bit tired afterwards. I went around the small town near where my parents live and just went into one of the bookstores and then did a little bit of window shopping, and that's it really. Didn't actually buy anything, but I just wanted to see what was there and I wanted to walk. I read for a little bit right now. It's now almost 4 p.m. and I read like maybe 50 pages of Our Last Echoes by Kate Alice Marshall, but I wanted to get some more pro writing aid done because I would very much like to be done with the manuscript as it is today, so that I can finally send this to my critique partners. It would be great if I can send it to them before I leave for my dinner plans tonight. So I'm leaving around like 6:30, 6:45-ish p.m. So I'll have a couple of hours at least. And since I did like a lot, like 12 chapters in 1 hour this morning, I feel like I could do this. It is now 5:11 p.m. and I have just finished doing pro writing aid for everything. And I also made a little illustration on Illustrator with just the writing of what Olive writes down at some point in the book when she's trying to figure out who's trying to kill her. I'm feeling pretty good about my progress, and I also think that means I'm officially done with the Art of Summoning Demons draft 4. I am not touching this draft anymore until I have critique partners feedback. Today's the 28th of Feb, which is the actual last day of February. So this is exactly as I had planned in my head, which is crazy. That never happens. So that means I'm finally done with this draft and I cannot touch it for an entire month, and I have to work on something else. It is now 11:30, so it's been 2 hours of doing nothing. And I know that later on we're also going to go to the shop to pick paint color samples. So I'm doing a lot of stuff that has absolutely nothing to do with writing or reading or anything of the sort. So yes, but we're now going to be able to start. I need to decide what I would like to work on because I still have not. There is currently one called Project Alien that I am so tempted to touch. I think I really, really want to work a little bit on a book idea. This is Project Alien, and I just put a big old image of a fucking alien on there from the Alien movie franchise. But I don't actually plan on having monsters that look like this. I just know that I want it to be space horror because that is a genre I really, really enjoy both in movies and in reading format because I've read a few that I really love. So even though my monsters are not going to look like this is the image cover for this little idea, and the name being Project Alien. This was the spark of the idea. I started with having an idea of who my main characters were, and I wrote it all down on a sheet of paper. And I knew that I wanted my main guy to be named Axel and to have pink hair and to be like a little bit punkish sort of vibes. I wasn't entirely sure what his role / job should be, but think Murderbot Diaries, where the main character Murderbot is a sec unit bot, so a security unit bot that's been hired to help protect these scientists on a planet. So I kind of feel like that's sort of his role, like a hired gun to help protect a team. Themis is my main girly pop. I already know that she's got a short bob of black hair, and that she is badass more in her attitude. Like, I don't think she's someone who knows how to handle a lot of guns and things like that. That's not the kind of badass I'm looking for, but she's more very smart and very focused and understands things that other people do not understand. And then I knew from this that I was going to have this character go back to an old team. I knew that I wanted there to be something where she has a past, a romantic past with one of the other characters, and that other character is now with another girl on the team. I don't think my girl Themis is interested at all in getting back with her ex, but I think there would be some sort of like jealousy, some tension rising up from perhaps more the new girl. I don't know, something like that. I also know that they're explorers of some sort. I haven't figured out exactly what their mission is, but I know that they're all getting back together for retrieving people from an old mission, and that she refuses to go at first. So from this point on, I knew that my first point was that they're gonna go because they think it's a rescue mission of some sort, a year after events that have happened in the past within the same team. And I know that Themis refused. She understands whatever horrors took place a year earlier better than anyone else on the crew. I think people believed she was the reason their friends, whoever were previous members of the crew, died. And either died or she left them there to die in order to save the rest of the crew or something like that. So they probably all believe she made the wrong choice. But she actually knows that whatever took over their bodies is some sort of monstrous alien life form, as you do. There's going to be something along the lines of a camera picks up life, and maybe it's the same people from their old crew walking around, but you never see their faces, and people are now believing, holy shit, they're still alive a year later, let's go rescue them. And I think Themis is going to go with her secret in her mind, which is going to be her own personal mission to kill them off, because she knows how dangerous whatever life forms these are. So something along those lines, but she doesn't tell the rest of the crew as she decides to join them and accepts to go back. Maybe she's got like a bomb or something, I don't know, something that she knows is going to kill off those aliens. And then Axel is going to be hired by the company as like extra security to accompany them. And everyone thinks that it was a decision made by the higher ups in the company to hire him. But I think she either had leverage to force them to hire him, or she's the one who directly hired him. Something along the lines of she went to the company initially to tell them, here's my detailed report of what happened, but they probably want something back from the station really, really badly and do not care about the lives of people, something along those lines, the usual crap. So she was ignored and she quit her job for the last year, and the crew assumed that she was fired and that it was all her fault and that this proves it. But in reality, she left of her own volition and then came back when someone anonymous sent her the pictures of the crew still alive. And I think the anonymous source turns out to be a member of the crew who I've currently named Saturn. And they're like the sweet junior member who was really, really friendly to Themis and really saw Themis as like a mentor and is convinced that maybe the crew might still be alive. And if they convince Themis will come with them, and maybe Themis doesn't have to feel guilty about it anymore. Themis wrongly believes that it is all her fault and feels guilty that people died because it was her job, and maybe she was sort of like the mother of the crew. I kind of feel like I see that role for her, someone who made sure everyone was okay, no one was suicidal from being in space for too long, things like that. And so she thinks the death of her ex-crew members are on her for not noticing earlier that there was a problem. So what she needs to do is to accept that she saved as many as possible and that she didn't have any other choice. She did the best with the cards that she was handed, and she shouldn't even have been able to save this many people to start with. I also kind of love this idea of her running like a probabilities diagnostic on like her whatever it is, like implant or phone type of device. And I feel like she would run the diagnostics constantly, and it keeps giving her worse odds than what she actually managed to do, giving her more people dead, but she still doesn't believe it herself. So I think based on that information that I gathered for myself, I was like, okay, I feel like this was like a peaceful exploring crew for some sort of pharmaceutical company who were looking for some sort of substance that had healing properties. I can totally imagine it be like some goopy black liquid lava type of thing on this planet, and the substance obviously turned people into basically murderous zombies-like creatures. So yeah, that's sort of everything I know about this project so far is just these notes. So I think I'm ready to start working on this a little bit more. I think this is what I'm going to be working on this weekend. I know that I keep talking about Project Snowstorm, and that's the one I really need to outline, but I have had some scenes of this specific one in my head for so long now. I need to work through some of it, and I need a break from whatever I was doing. And I feel like this is so fresh and brand new in my head that this is the break that I desperately need. This gives you a good idea of how I currently work on projects when I have the spark of an idea, what it came from. It came from me rewatching the entire Alien franchise and being like, I love a final girl so much. I just wish there was a tiny hint of romance in one of these. I basically want Alien meets The Mummy because, again, The Mummy for me is the perfect example of 50% plot, 50% romance. I obviously want Axel to survive as well because he's going to be the love interest. It's pretty fucking clear. And I would like him to be very The Mummy-esque in terms of he's basically a himbo who is like, yeah, I'm going to come and protect you. And he's immediately in love with her. And she's going to take a little bit longer to get there. What I'm going to be working on is first, I'm going to go get lunch. And then second, I'm going to start working on putting this together in an actual page on my Notion. So I have like a gallery on Notion that is just book ideas and is just all of these different pages with bullet points of unfiltered thoughts. So I'm going to prepare an actual individual page for this book idea so that it can exist on its own. I have now finished doing the very beginning of this little character sheet for my main character Themis. She would be second in command to the captain of that space exploring crew that was working for, I decided the name would be Vortex Pharmaceuticals, and then became captain interim when the captain of said crew passed away while on mission. So if I go back to Project Alien, I've started setting up the page with a prepping section and an outlining section. In the prepping section, I have the unfiltered thoughts, which is essentially what I showed you guys earlier. And then in the world building, I've got 2 pages that I needed, so that I started. The first one is I wanted to find a name for the planet where they are finding that substance. So it's called Panacea because of the goddess of universal remedy. And then I've created a second page, which is just called Lava for now. And I've put in there some of the illustrations I found on Pinterest earlier. But essentially, this is the page explaining that the black lava or black goo is essentially the substance that they found on Panacea that supposedly could cure all illnesses, maybe even bring eternal youth. But then obviously it turns people into brain dead zombies. Vortex, the pharmaceutical company that I think I need to create a page as well in the gallery, so I'll probably do that next. But Vortex had probably already started filing a patent and all that for a product based on the lava that I think they were going to call maybe Infinix, nicknamed the Infinity Serum. They would already have had sponsors that were willing to spend millions on Infinix and that were already backing up their find by monetizing the cruise. And also by monetizing the initial construction of the first station, so Ambrosia Alpha. So these are the first 2 pages I created because I needed them, because I started my outlines. So the way that I currently like to do outlines, and this is kind of a new way for me, is that I make a mix of Save the Cat. This is the beat sheet you can see up here top left. And then in the Art of Summoning Demons, I used a book called Creating Character Arcs, and she's got like a beat sheet that matches Save the Cat, but sort of revolves all around the building of your character on the idea that everything is about the lie that they tell themselves at the beginning of the story and the moment they start believing the truth. I like to then separate my beat sheets into 2 columns. So you have one for Save the Cat, one for the character, and they match each other because obviously the character beat sheet matches the beats of Save the Cat. So for instance, I've put in this column the ghost. It's the same as the shot of glass. I don't need to do this twice. So for instance, the ghost for Themis is that she had this mission where she lost half of her crew, and that from there she thought it was her fault that she did not notice something was wrong. So the lie and the truth sort of match the wants and the needs of your character. And for me, I've put in there that her want is to right her wrong by eradicating the danger from that planet and killing off the zombified crew members that died then. And then I've got sort of like, this is taking over 2 columns because I didn't want it to go too long down there, but it's really the same thing. But essentially, I wanted to have a little story time about what happens before the book starts. And then I got my midpoint. There's going to be a moment where Themis is going to look at herself in the mirror and be like, what the fuck am I doing? How am I going to solve this? I think this is the point where she wonders why the fuck she even came back. Everyone's going to keep on dying, and Vortex will send more people. How is she going to manage to stop them? So this is sort of almost like the internal monologue that I have for her on the right-hand side, where the moment of truth happens. For the first time, she sees the truth, but she doesn't reject the lie yet. So that's part of the character beat sheet. And then on the left, on Save the Cat, I have more of like sort of externally what happens, like the actual event that prompts this. And I was thinking maybe she finds the first crew member, which is the captain, and maybe she really had like not a thing for the captain, but really like admired him or something. And the worst thing she had to do was take over his role to save the rest of the crew. But I have a feeling maybe he left his log on him or something on his tablet, and she manages to grab his wrist tablet after he attacks her because obviously he's a zombie. She reads the last entry, and it's something about how he's trying to save her and Saturn by sending both of them away on some side mission or something, and realizing that something's wrong with himself and with some of the members of the crew or something like that. I don't know. Like, he manages to be the one to save them from getting infected by his own illness that is starting from the lava. And he also sort of says something along the lines of, about Themis, she's always been more strong-willed than me. She would do the right thing. If it were her, she'd have purged herself into space already just to save the rest of the crew. But he hasn't yet because he's too scared to do so. So something along those lines. And I feel like that would be a good midpoint moment for Themis to realize a bunch of things and to start acting upon them. And also that would sort of send the book into Act 2, where the bad guys close in. But yeah, that's all I have for now. But it's sort of like a good start because having the midpoint will allow me to go into my Act 1. But it is now 11:40 because I've been talking for 10 minutes actually. And I'm going to stop now and I'm going to go to bed. It is now 3:40 p.m. and I have had a full day of doing a lot of things, but none of them were writing or even reading. So currently failing at this mini retreat. I jumped pretty much immediately into painting the ceiling in my mom's office, and then I had lunch, and then I did some more painting because it needed a second coat for sure. I have a fear that I might need a third coat, but that'll be a future me problem. Not today, not this weekend. I'm going home. I'm going back to London tonight my flight is at 9:30 and I'm leaving here at 7 p.m. because we live next to the airport, so it's literally like 10 minutes drive. Now, last night I actually went pretty far into my character sheets and things like that for Project Alien. I buffed up some of the other stuff that I already had in there. So I feel like I got like a pretty good start to this project. Even if I don't plan on writing it immediately, I'm excited for it when I do. So I think what I'm going to be doing now is I'm probably going to pack up already my suitcase, like just the clothes and everything. And then I think I kind of want to work on the synopsis for The Art of Summoning Demons because I really want to be ready for querying whenever I get my last bit of feedback from my CPs. So The one thing I'm missing, I feel like I've said this, is a synopsis. Okay, it is now 5:13 and I have finished rewriting the synopsis. I have saved it in 3 different spaces. I don't know why I'm being paranoid, but I think I'm gonna leave it for now and reread it later. It's sitting at 586 words, I think, and the recommendations online are between 500 and 800 words. But again, I'm gonna leave it to stew for a little bit and then get back to it and have another look before I decide if it's the final version. It's now Monday the 3rd, and I am back home in London. And I got home so late last night because my plane was delayed by an hour. But I was in the lounge, so I couldn't really complain. I was just really tired. Just traveling in general makes me tired, and my arms are so sore from painting my mom's ceiling as well. So it's a combination of it all. But I ended up reading a lot, and I just read a lot of this book. And then on my Kindle, I started another book, which is called Mr. Impossible, and it's like a historical romance, but it's been recommended by a girl who's comparing books to how similar is it to Rick and Evie from The Mummy. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I have nothing else to add. I think I'm pretty happy with what I've done over the weekend overall, considering that I kept being busy doing other things and being enrolled by my mom to do other things. So yeah, that is the reality of being at my parents', is that it's not an actual retreat because I'm not focusing on solely doing any writing. But I am really proud of what I've done because over the weekend I managed to completely finish doing the last round of revisions from Pro Writing Aid for my draft 4 for The Art of Summoning Demons and sending it to my critique partners. And I also did the synopsis for The Art of Summoning Demons that I still need to reread, but I've done it. I've got a template to start from. And I also did a bunch of outlining and initial ideas processing for Project Alien, and I'm in a really good spot to want to start it if I ever do, so I'm really happy with that as well. So yeah, I feel like overall I actually did quite a lot. But that is it for this vlog. I hope you guys enjoyed this, and whenever I go away somewhere I might try and do this again because it motivated me to do a little bit more, and I feel like I might have just lounged around and done nothing at all of the weekend if it weren't for this vlog as well. So I'm glad that I pushed myself to do some writing stuff. So yeah, if you did like this kind of content, leave a like, leave a comment down below. I always try to respond to those. Consider subscribing to my channel, ring that bell, all that jazz, and I will see you guys in the next one.